and welcome back to Desert DIY. If you are new here, my name is Cory. Today's video is going to be that amazing dresser that I picked up from somebody's curb. Somebody had posted online that they were getting rid of this dresser and somebody else saw it and then tagged me in it, and then I went and got it. And it was just this really cool experience. I actually filmed it and it's in a video, and I will put it right here for you guys to watch if you want to go back and see how all that went down. But it had a ton of water damage to the top, and the drawers were all falling apart. It was a complete disaster. It was one of those things where it is way worse than it looks at first glance. And the more I started working on it, the more issues I was finding. But that didn't matter because I still made this piece turn into something so beautiful. You're not going to believe it. Let's see it. The first thing that we need to address on this piece is the horrible water damage that is on the top. And it was kind of interesting because I learned a little bit about how these wave front oak dressers are made, which is that they have 2 layers of laminate wood over top of some pine wood. And the laminate layers, I'm not sure what the first layer is, but the second layer is the oak. So it is not solid oak necessarily. So that was something interesting to learn about this piece. But we just removed the different veneer layers off, and then we dealt with what was left, which was a really neat pine wood top, and it had really neat characteristics to it, and we just worked with that. A really good tool to use for getting off this laminate is a metal scraper and a hammer, or a very thin bladed chisel and a hammer. Finally, we get down to the solid wood of this piece, and it was a really neat wood. I'm pretty sure it's pine, and it has a lot of knots in it, which is why I think it's pine, but it still was not flat. As you can see here, there's kind of a bit of a peak and valley situation going on, and the huge mess of removing everything was all over my back patio. But we also discovered that the drawers were completely unfunctional, and we're not able to fix those because of the warp of the drawer bottom, as well as the guide on the side that you slide the drawer bottom into was broken, so we couldn't even slide it back in, and any way we would have fixed it would not have been very strong, unfortunately. Another issue to add to our list of problems with this piece was that it had a big wobble to it. And so what I'm going to do to shore it up is just nail on some 1x6s, I believe they were, and just that will shore it up, keep it nice and straight, and it will keep it from wobbling when we plane the top of this piece. A tip I have for you if you are working on a piece on your own without any other hands to help you hold things is to get some pretty large vice grips or clamps, so that way you can clamp things onto a piece that you're working on, so that way it'll hold it for you as if there was somebody there to help you out. Just because you're working on something on your own doesn't mean you can't do it, and this is how I do it when I don't have help, although my husband did come towards the end of me finishing this up to hold the last piece. Unfortunately, the clip of my husband using the hand planer on the top of this piece somehow disappeared in the editing process. But I am going to link a video down below of somebody else on YouTube who is an expert in how to use hand planers, so that way you can get it really from an expert instead of us, because we're just beginners with using hand planers. But all it really is a blade that you push across the surface, and it helps to cut the wood into a flat, perfectly planed surface. And we aren't perfect at doing it, so we had to do quite a bit of sanding in order to get everything nice and flat, and I was using some 60 grit sandpaper there. And now I'm going to just create my own wood filler using wood glue and some sawdust out of my saw to help fill in those big huge cracks that you see there. Cracks like this look really cool and rustic, but when you think of cleaning a piece, you want to make sure that you don't get nasty crumbs and things into those cracks over the years of using and loving pieces like this. So it's best to fill them in if it's going to be a piece that actually gets use in your home. While I'm waiting for my DIY wood filler to dry, I'm going to go ahead and cut out these pieces here that I no longer need, since I am not going to be using drawers. The tool that I'm using for this is my Dremel. I love the Dremel, and I would highly recommend it to somebody who is just starting out. It's extremely easy to use and has a lot of different attachments, which makes it good for somebody who's going to need something small and workable that can do a lot of different things. And I had this piece of scrap wood in my garage for probably 6 to 8 years. That's a pretty old piece of scrap wood there. But I had to cut out little areas for it to fully slide in, so that's what you see me doing right now. And then I had used this to paint lamps on a long time ago. You probably even saw the video if you've been watching my channel for a while. And I need to get that paint off there, so I'm just sanding that off with my sander and then sanding it smooth with 220 afterwards before I stain it. For this entire piece, I want it to have a sort of gray washed look. So in order for me to achieve an even gray washed look on the whole thing, I need to start with a similar tone on all of the wood. So I'm going to use this Restore Finish in the Golden Oak color. I'm using Restore Finish because I just didn't happen to have the Golden Oak or any oak colored stain on hand besides this one. So I'm just rubbing it all on using a shop towel, which is a paper towel meant for mechanics. and it doesn't leave any lint behind. And then I'm going to glue that piece in. Since it is on a flat surface and it weighs itself down, I just clamped it for a little while, which you don't see on camera, but I let it dry and did not use any nails. And then I went and did the same thing on the top. Like I said, I'm trying to get the whole piece all into one tone, so that way when I do the gray wash over it, it is all the same color. This is the product I'm going to use for the gray wash. It is a folk art brand wood tint, which is kind of more like a watered down paint, the way that you work with it and everything. It is really easy to use, very workable, and I just used the shop towel again, and I put on about 3 coats, sometimes 2.5 coats if some areas were already looking the way that I wanted them to. Once everything was dry, I went over it with some clear coat. I put on a satin clear coat from Dixie Belle, and I just brushed it on using a synthetic brush. I wasn't worried about any brush strokes showing because I wanted the wood grain to have a bit of a texture to it, so I just made sure that my brush strokes were all in the same direction and smoothed out before they dried. I found some old black hardware in my stash of hardware that I've had for so many years, and I thought that these ones were perfect for this piece. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time. If you liked what you saw today, don't forget to hit subscribe down below. And if you want to see more, then click this video right here.